people like to say that the 996 had some common issues. One of those common issues, you didn't have that issue in the turbo models or the GT models. That issue was attributed to the 996. And I would like to talk about that issue, and that's called IMS, Intermediate Shaft Bearing. This whole please beep that out. And the simple reason for that is there was a case against Porsche North America by a group of approximately 3,000 individuals, represented by, I think it was called Eisner versus Porsche North America, that said that the IMS bearing in these vehicles were prone to failures. But in reality, Porsche very quickly settled that lawsuit, not because they agreed to the fact that the IMS bearing were prone to failure. They agreed to it because they didn't want any negative publicity. But this 996 has got a dual row bearings. They don't have any rate of failures that you find with the single row IMS bearings in the second generation 996 from the year 2000 and up until 2004. This had a dual row bearing, and there is no clear publicity or criticism out there to say that the dual row IMS bearings also fail. This IMS stuff is very easily understood. It's basically a bearing that you access by removing the transmission, and it's a bearing that you basically take out and you install another one. I mean, in total, doing that job can cost you anything between £1,000 to £1,500, especially if you're doing your clutch or your flywheel. The cost could be much cheaper because you do it within the cost of doing your clutch and the flywheel. It's easily monitored, IMS bearing, because to monitor an IMS bearing, all you simply do is when you're doing the oil changes, open up your paper oil filter to check for any debris. My colleague has written some further horse about IMS. I don't agree with any of it. And the simple reason is if you come here and I can tell you why I don't agree with it, and I'll read it out from this piece of paper. I don't agree with none of this. It's wrong because the IMS issues were only present in these 996s at the worst case scenario, less than 5%. So they sold thousands and thousands of these all over the world, and we're going to talk about less than 5%. But I can turn that into a positive note, that 5% of the people probably bought a car because it was a bad car, not inspected by an independent Porsche specialist, not inspected when they bought it. Some people simply don't bother to change their oils. Some people simply don't bother to let the countdown, the 6-second countdown happen, the engine to warm up. They just want to get in and drive it away. That's not how you treat a 911. That's not how you drive a 911. It's not your VW Polo or your Golf. But I'm going to read this complete utter useless bullshit because it's absolutely wrong. And I'm not speaking out of fiction or out of opinion. I'm talking to you out of facts because I've seen the lawsuit. I'm talking to you from an independent specialist perspective where we see these cars day in and day out, and I've never seen an IMS failure. Why have I not seen it when I've sold approximately 150 Porsches last year? But some people do. So let me read this whole shit. Failure of the ball bearing within the IMS leads to varying degrees of engine failure. In general, after an IMS bearing failure, the engine internals could be contaminated with debris from the failure that requires the engine to be stripped and rebuilt. In severe failure modes, cam timing could be affected, leading to valve piston impact, necessitating a rebuild or replacement of the entire engine. This is rubbish, absolute rubbish. Your engine could fail on you, with all due respect. Let me close this thing. Your engine could fail on you because you simply don't wait for that 6-second countdown. You don't let the revs to drop down before you drive away, and you push your car too quickly before the car's up to temperature. That's why your engine fails. That's why you have problems with your 911s. That's why you develop scoring with your 911s. You don't get it because your IMS bearing is going to go pop. That doesn't happen. useless bullshit. I don't agree with it. It's used as a sales thing by a lot of independent Porsche specialists to say to you, has your car got a single row IMS bearing, or has your car got a dual row IMS bearing? Well, come in, buddy, let's charge you 1,500 quid or 2,000 pounds and give you the peace of mind to upgrade your IMS bearing. Don't do it. Keep that money. When you're doing your oil changes and when you're regularly maintaining your car, look out for simple signs of opening up your oil filter and keep that budget. Use it to do other things to maintain your car. And don't treat your car as a VW Polo or Golf. End of. The other reasons that made Porsche so successful, and from the Toyota consultancy advice that was given to Porsche, was to basically produce a car that will require a lot of parts to be purchased down the line once somebody owns it. And one of them being the simple thing about leaving these completely open, where leaves and other crap can go in there, and what it does is the leaves can rot and the other stuff can just completely jam that place and eventually damage your front condensers. And to replace your front condensers is a straightforward, simple job. The condensers also don't cost a lot. The front bumper needs to be removed and new condensers needs to be put on. And if you are going to do that, you might as well get some Zunsport grills or any other grills here so that this problem does not reoccur. Let's talk about bore scoring. We'll go to the back now. Two items I completely disagree with, because these problems occur if you treat it like a Polo or a Golf or a Fiesta. But with all due respect, have some sympathy for your Ford Fiestas and your Polos and treat them with more respect, because these Porsches will give you love if you give it love. But this is common issues and we have to talk about it. That's the truth of it. So according to some people, 3.6 litre engines can suffer from bore scoring. And some say the solution is to lightly skim and nickel coat the bores before honing to the correct size. Then silent coat the pistons. Again, does people know what is nickel coating? It's really microfiber, dust-like small little particles that are sprayed to the inside of the bores. With all due respect, if you're going to treat your car badly, nickel will not stop it from future scoring. We've seen 997 Gen 2's 911s have bore scoring issues, 991 Gen 1's having bore scoring issues. Come down to AMS Porsche and you're very welcome to take a look at some of the engines we have worked on that were meant to be direct fuel injected engines that does not suffer from scoring. So with all due respect, anything will suffer from scoring if you treat it badly and if you misuse it. Yes, the 996 had that issue, but so did so many other car manufacturers. If you don't service the car, you don't maintain the car, and you don't look after your car, and you don't basically at least do bore scope inspections on it so that you are monitoring the inside of the engine, then I'm afraid if you do incur failure and you're amongst the 5%, meaning that the 95% have had an absolutely perfect experience, then unfortunately nothing can be done about it. Then it will be the way it is, which is you're going to need to put another engine in it by basically rebuilding that exact same engine and make yourself ready for an 8 to 15,000 pounds bill. Depends on what kind of modifications you eventually want to do. Please comment, like and subscribe and let us know what you think.